Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.
Welcome to the Natural Cook. I'm Anna Gershenson. Today we have a very special guest, Jim Shultz. He and his wife Annie run a farm where they raise heritage chickens, and Jim will tell us all about it.
Thanks, Anna. Thank you for having me. We're Red Shirt Farm in Lanesboro, Mass. We're about 10 acres. We do a variety. We're a diversified small family farm. We raise organic vegetables. As you said, we do heritage poultry, both chickens and turkeys, and the chickens are layers and broilers. We also raise pastured pigs and do some bees for honey. So we're very diversified. We have a 50-tree orchard that we just put in, so it's not bearing yet, but we'll be getting there as well. But one of the things we is sort of our trademark is our heritage poultry, and I brought actually a little video that we could show so people could get a better sense of what we're doing rather than having me just stand here and talk about it.
Wonderful. A picture is better than words.
So yeah, here's our birds out on pasture. These are our broilers. You see the little house in the background. We do everything from hatching, from breeding to hatching to incubating. These are the birds just coming out of the hatcher right now. We then put them into a brooder, which is sort of a heated environment. They need to stay at 95 degrees for the first week. So this is a little space, and then they grow out into a larger area that isn't quite so well heated as they get hardened off, so to speak. And then they spend the rest of their life out on pasture, where they get moved daily, their housing, and they're in those enclosed netting environments. So they're always on fresh pasture. They help us with our compost, getting the bugs and everything from there. This is one of our roosters with his hens. And sometimes we let the hens actually naturally hatch out their own chicks, which she's doing here, and they're great mothers. And they're very much of a family unit, staying together in their house, which again we move weekly. And here's the tractor pulling their house around to fresh grass. So it's very important that they have fresh pasture to feed on. That's part of their that provides the nutrients for them. In addition to the chickens, we do turkeys. This is a standard bronze turkey, which we also breed and hatch and incubate. They go through this awesome adolescent stage, which is really awkward, like a regular adolescent. But this is how they spend most of their time, out on pasture, being moved in this, what we call the schooner, which is a big hay wagon that we have a top on. And they spend, again, the majority of their life out on pasture until Thanksgiving, when they're sold. So this is our farm. redshirtfarm.com is our web address if you're interested in more info.
Yes, and you mentioned that you are in Lanesboro.
Yes.
And you also have a CSA.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we do a vegetable CSA.
Yes.
And we're on 2 acres. We can do up to 100 people. Right now we're kind of working towards that number. And we're also this year starting a meat CSA. So people who are interested in our chickens can sign up to get a chicken every week once they start producing in the summer. And that season starts towards the end of June.
Yes. Well, this is wonderful. And the reason I'm invited Jim today is because I'm so excited that we have such wonderful resource here. Farms where people are committed to feeding us well. We are earthlings. We have to be close to the earth, and we have moved too far away. Mm-hmm. And so we are so grateful to Jim that he and his wife Annie have devoted their lives to this. And today we are going to understand what is so special, how your chickens are different from the chickens that you buy at the supermarket. And just to give a very, very quick intro is that growing up in Riga, Latvia, chicken was delicacy. It was more expensive than beef or pork. And of course, chickens were natural. And when I came to this country and started eating this meat and learned that it was pumped with antibiotics and hormones, and actually realizing that I started getting migraine headaches, not knowing from what. But then I decided that I couldn't eat that kind of food that was treated inhumanely and having that everything that is there in this bird goes into your body. So I stopped eating the meat. I became a vegetarian, and sure enough, my migraines disappeared. So now I'm back to eating meat, which can be a wonderful addition to your diet. Protein, like condensed protein like meat and poultry, should be eaten in small quantities because there is protein also in grains and beans and vegetables. So I'm going to show how to cook it, but in the meantime, Jim, I want you to tell us why we should be buying your bird and what we are doing to our bodies to eating your bird.
Right. Well, thank you. So maybe I brought a picture of what 99% of the birds in this country, how they're raised. The traditional meat bird in this country is called the Cornish cross. It was developed really back in the 1940s, 1950s, and has become kind of the commercial bird that's a standard. It's very fast growing. It goes from the hatch to processing in 6 weeks, 7 weeks at the most. So it's very fast growing, but it's raised in a very factory-like environment. The birds are shoulder to shoulder. They get, if they're lucky, the size of a sheet of paper for their entire life for the amount of room. They are called, in that situation, they're called free range, but free range is just being able to move around in the house. If they're lucky, they have access to a little porch, but most of them can't even get to that. So that combined with antibiotics, which they need to be fed to keep from getting sick in that kind of environment, and also commercial feed, which is genetically modified feed, which is used, Monsanto developed to use Roundup on, and Roundup has now been classified as a carcinogen. So we're eating this chicken, 99% of it, which has been raised in this environment. By contrast, what we feel is really important is that the bird be raised in a natural environment. And one of the things you asked me was, what are these? These are heritage birds. What is a heritage bird?
Yes, let me pause on this because you will continue telling me this fascinating story. But first I want to put the chicken to cook, and I want to also let our viewers know how this chicken is cooking differently. Because let me get the pot. I have preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and I preheated the pot because I want the bird to start cooking right away. And these are actually working birds. Jim was telling you how they run around for their food, and they're outside all the time. And so you know that when you work your muscles, then they're very different than when you don't work them. They are really strong, and they are tight. So there isn't as much fat and moisture in this bird because it's not injected with any kind of saline solution or anything like that. So we want to put a lot of fat on this bird. And what I did is, I defrosted it, I brought it to room temperature, and now we are going to make this fatty kind of coating. And I decided to use coconut oil because it's so good for you. So I'll show you what I'm doing with it. So first I put a few garlic cloves, and I'm going to process them, chop them up in this little mini Cuisinart. So you are going to be combining the garlic together with lemon juice, with coconut oil. I'm putting about 1/3 cup of coconut oil, and then juice of 1 lemon that I squeezed here already. That is going to be for flavoring. And lemon and coconut flavors combined very nicely together. And then I'm using these very nice Italian seasoning organic. You can use combination of thyme and oregano like Annie does. She's the cook in the family. Or you can use herbes de Provence. I'm using this combination of sage, basil, rosemary, all these Italian seasonings, about a teaspoon. And then I'll add a couple of teaspoons of salt to make sure that the bird is seasoned well, because if there's no salt, the flavor doesn't come through. And then a few grindings of black pepper, and we can grind it on top as well later, and just whiz it through to make this lovely paste. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Okay, the paste is ready. A little piece still stubborn there. Okay.
Smells delicious.
Yes. All yummy stuff. The chicken is worth it. All right, so now we are going to take this and just slather the chicken with this paste so that the whole chicken, all the crevices, and even you can put inside to make sure that it's all coated, because it has to cook. It has to cook to produce moist meat. So this is what we're trying to do here. Okay, so let's work it. Okay, put it here. Now our pot is here. It's hot. So let's put the pot here. Don't touch it, Jim.
Okay.
You don't want to burn yourself. So I'm going to just put it all around on the wings and on the legs and even inside, moistening it with this delicious seasoning and fat. And in the meantime, Jim, while I'm doing it, you can tell me more about your heritage bird.
Well, so yeah, heritage birds, there's some criteria to be a heritage bird. It needs to be able to naturally reproduce, which the Cornish cross, which are most of the supermarket birds, can't. It needs to be able to thrive outside on pasture,
Yes.
Which again is something that's very different. The Cornish cross, the commercial bird, is meant to be raised inside, and they actually, even though some people do raise them outside on pasture, they don't thrive there. They don't forage well. They tend to do poorly in the heat. So these birds are actually meant to be out there, and they thrive on foraging for bugs and grass, and being out in the sunshine and everything is just a wonderful environment for them, and it shows in the flavor of the meat. And as you said, because they're active, there's a lot more vascularity in the meat, which leads to dark meat.
Yes.
So there's a better balance of dark and light meat on the bird. And the breast is more proportional to the legs than in a Cornish cross, which has these huge breast meat, which is actually a problem. The Cornish cross grows so quickly that they have leg problems, they have heart problems, and they really don't. Many of them don't even survive past that 7 or 8 week period. And because they grow so quickly, they don't have a chance to develop the nutrient density and the flavor. And that whole, what we're looking for, and what our grandparents used to know is real chicken. Another thing with the birds on pasture is they tend to get a much more, because they get that diverse diet, the balance of omega-3 to omega-6, which many
Yes.
people have heard about,
Right.
is much better. What we used to get, our grandparents used to have more of a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to
Yes.
6. And now we're at 16 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 in the American diet. So these birds, their meat profile is more of a 4-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3, so much more natural, so you're getting those good omega-3s. They're also higher in vitamin E and something called CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid, which is, again, something really good for cancer prevention and general health. So a variety of good things coming from being on pasture. Now the downside, in a way, if you want to think about
Yes.
it from the farmer, is it takes twice as long to raise these birds,
Yes.
which if all you're concerned about is quick growth and profit, and you're not concerned about the product as much, that's it's a little bit of a problem. But from the consumer end point of view, it's a good thing in terms of what you're getting, because as we said, the flavor is better, the quality of the meat has that nice texture, holds together, and it doesn't require that you put on all kinds of sauces to have it have any flavor, because the flavor is already there.
Right.
But it does cost more.
Yes, we will help our viewers understand how we break up the cost of this chicken. So, and what you get out of it, because we have no compunction going to restaurants and paying, you know, the kind of money for a main course. But however, because we are so used to low prices in supermarkets, we are reluctant to spend more money on the food that is really going supportive of our health. So what I'm doing here, I put the squeezed lemon halves into the cavity, and then I dressed the chopped carrots and onions with some salt and pepper and some of the seasoning, and I'm putting it in so that this will create moisture. Then I'll cover the pot, and the chicken will be cooking for about an hour at this temperature with a lid. Let me, if you can help me, just stick, right, just take it and put it into the oven, because I need to dry my hands. Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, all right, so now we will continue talking about the birds and what is so special about them. And in the meantime, I wanted to show you how to cut the bird into pieces, because we are used to buying chicken in parts. And Jim sells chickens whole. And some people might have a problem thinking, like, what are they going to do if they want to cook this chicken like in a wet environment, like with some liquid in it, braising it, which is wonderful for this kind of bird. So the benefit is that, first of all, you are really overpaying when you are buying parts, as we know. Second of all, that you are getting this carcass, which becomes your broth. And I brought this broth that I made from the carcass of the bird, and also they sell the feet that are wonderful because they're full of collagen. And this is exactly what your bones and your hair and your skin need. And so therefore, this is just wonderful investment in yourself. So while I'm cutting it, please tell us more about.
So when you show this, it was really interesting. There's this layer of gelatin on top, which is really where all the goodness is. And some people might look at this and say, "What is that?"
Well, it's all gelatin.
Yeah,
it's all gelled like that. Yes.
So and again, that's where all the nutrients are, and that's what we've lost, because people are they don't use organs anymore. The organs from the chicken, they don't use the feet, and they don't use the carcass, like you said. So with the bones and the joints, where all that collagen is, doesn't end up in the soup.
Exactly.
So by doing what you're doing, it's great. Now you mentioned being able to go get the most out of our bird, because we're paying for it.
Yes.
So we have something we call 3-2-1, which is when we sell our bird. So you can get 3 meals for 2 people out of one bird. So the first meal is your dinner, and then the second meal is your sandwich, your lunch, and the third meal is the soup that you make when it's all done. So you can really get, for a couple, you can get 3 meals out of a bird like that.
Yes, wonderful. So
show me how you cut that up.
Yes, I'll show you how to cut that up. In the meantime, you need to remember that not only this carcass is good for the broth, but also the roasted bird carcass is good for the broth. I never throw out the carcass of the bird. I always put it together with vegetables to create this wonderful and nourishing soup. Okay, so what we do is, first of all, we would stretch the skin so that our breast would have enough meat, enough skin to cover it. And we just cut it with a knife to expose where the joint is. And then we just open it up, and where the joint is, we make a cut through the skin, and our leg is done. So we have one leg, and then we do the same with the other one. Make sure that you stretch the skin because you don't want to have skinless breast. It protects the white meat. Okay, and then again, you open up the joint. My hands are slippery from the fat. It's not really difficult at all. It's just they have to, okay, let me help myself here. Okay.
And that fat's good fat, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is the fat that you want to eat. And when you make the broth, you also nourish every cell of your body with this wonderful
and that's another reason to
collagen.
be using high quality organic feed, because a lot of the chemicals, the pesticides and herbicides, are stored in the fat,
Right.
Or stored in the organ meat. So if you're using the organs for gravy or anything like that, you may not be doing yourself any favors by using a commercial bird, because you've got all that concentrated in those areas.
Absolutely. So you have protein that is full of good amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
And you have also minerals. And when you cook your broth, you make sure to add nice vegetables that will also add their own minerals. So now we will cut through the bone here and separate the breast. And this is your carcass, and that's what you are going to be making your soup with. Okay. It breaks very easily. And to separate the breasts, we actually will take, okay, we'll put it here. There is a part that we are just going to cut like a little wishbone. See, these birds are strong. You can tell that, you know, they've been doing their work, and they pass on that strong energy to you. So you open it up here to break it, and then you cut that bone out and separate the breasts. Okay, so you can actually cut the breast into 2 pieces, but because white meat cooks faster than dark meat, it would be really much easier for you just to keep it whole and not to worry about that it is going to overcook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what I mean by strong bones. That first of all, you can use kitchen shears if you have them. That will be very convenient in this instance. But all this wonderful mineral content from the bones is going to be going into the broth. Okay, so now that we are done, so what is it that we didn't talk about in terms of how your birds are raised?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things is genetics.
Yes.
So we actually breed our birds, and every year we're selecting for the best birds in terms of the quality of their body conformation, how healthy they are, how well they do in terms of production, how quickly they're growing, all that kind of thing. And these are, because they're heritage birds, it's like when you buy an open pollinated seed.
Yes.
You own that and can continue to use it. So we can
Yes.
take these birds and continue to breed them and grow them. The Cornish cross, the commercial bird, is owned, the genetics are owned by 3 multinational companies. So you don't even really own the bird that you're raising. And it's also a problem because those birds can't naturally reproduce. So you're buying something that you have to continually buy over and over and over again. So if you're thinking about food security, about having something that, you know, if there were a problem in this area, if the transportation system broke down, or if there are bigger crises in terms of environment
Yes.
or whatever, we have a way to produce our own food, you know, continuing on, not just for ourselves, but for our whole community. And that's another reason that we like these birds, to have that control. So you're not ceding that control to a multinational company that's telling you what to do and how to do it. So the genetics are something that we're constantly working on and developing. So, and the other thing is food. We feed all organic and non-GMO feed. As I mentioned, GMO food, so almost all the corn and all the soy in this country, which is the feed, is GMO.
Yes.
And it's developed by Monsanto, and the reason it's there is so they can put on Roundup, which is a chemical herbicide to kill the weeds so they can grow their stuff. That's been identified as a carcinogen. So all this feed that the commercial industry, it's GMO feed, the GMO feed itself may not be bad, but it's how it's been grown and what's been put on it that's bad. All of us have Roundup in our systems because that's the bulk of the food that's out there right now is that GMO corn and soy. We don't use that. We have organic feed, but for when they're younger, and then as they get older and onto pasture, we switch to GMO feed because organic feed is GMO-free feed. Thank
right.
you. Because the organic feed is so expensive that we need to be able to offer our consumer a product that they can afford. We'd need to cost $10 a pound if we were doing all organic feed. So for the first 6 weeks they're on organic feed, then they go to non-GMO feed and pasture. Okay. And we feel the combination of grass and bugs and everything else kind of weighs it all out.
Yes.
So feed, genetics, yes. And then the welfare of the birds are
yes.
things that we feel are important.
Yes. Well, we have covered a lot and learned a lot about how these birds are raised. In the meantime, this bird is cooking, and we have to take a break to let it cook fully so that you can see how wonderful it is, and then we'll see how delicious it is. So we'll see you in a bit. Today we cooked this beautiful chicken that Jim and Annie raised. Mm-hmm. And the smell here is unbelievable. And you should cook it too, to smell and taste it. This is only one of the ways to cook this chicken. You can also spatchcock it, which means taking the backbone out, flattening it out, and cooking it flat. And also a good way is to use the broiler pan so that the juices can drip onto the bottom of the broiler pan, and the vegetables would be cooking and moistening together, and that's what Annie shared with me. Mm-hmm. Also, another way is very, very nice way is putting it in a crock pot. That way you don't have to attend it, and it's done. So why don't we taste it, Jim?
It looks amazing. You did a great job with it.
Thank you. Some white meat. Mm-hmm. Yes. And some vegetables. Okay. Why don't you go ahead?
Excellent.
Yes, I'll taste it right from here. It is so delicious. The texture is a little chewy, but the flavor is amazing. The most important, these are, by the way, the bones that you can use for making your bone broth, and add a little bit of acid like lemon juice or apple cider vinegar to get all the good stuff out of the bones. And guys, please support the local farms, eat locally, seasonally, fresh, and invest in yourselves. Now is the time. You don't want to wait until you get older and you have to invest in medical bills. Mm-hmm. You want to enjoy quality of life into your older, mature years, and doing it with this delicious, flavorful, and full of nutrients food is the way to go. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We definitely are going to be supporting you. We are looking forward to seeing you at the downtown Pittsfield Farmers Market. Mm-hmm. And please go to my Facebook page where I will post information about Jim and the recipe. See you later. Bye.
Thanks, Hannah. Bye.
Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.